Murder Drones has a lot of good episodes. Whether you like episode 3, episode 8, or any of the in between, we can all agree that this show has a wide range of good episodes to choose from, because, well, they all have their different strengths. Episode 3 has, well, probably the best writing in the show, some great action with the knife dance, and one of the best antagonists with Dole. Episode 5 really succeeded with its setting and Resident Evil aesthetic, even if the humor and storytelling is slightly questionable. And episode 8 has some incredible fight scenes and an amazing soundtrack. But one episode in particular sticks out above the rest. That is episode 7, Mass Destruction. Mass Destruction is unbelievably good. From the twists, to the horror, to the incredible action, this episode succeeded in every aspect, and is exactly what this show needed. While this might not be the fan favorite episode, and well, definitely has its flaws, I believe the strengths of Mass Destruction are so unbelievably good that it fully overrides this, making this my favorite episode of Murder Drones. So let's go over the events of the episode and give my thoughts and opinions as they become relevant. And well, a lot happens here. Starting off with a flashback that shows the events of the cabin fever experiments. Yeah, not a great start. We all knew at this point that Nori and Yeva were being experimented on, but actually seeing it ensue was pretty awesome. One thing that was not explained in episode 6 was why the humans were doing this, because yeah, experimenting on an entity that destroyed a planet seemed pretty questionable. But here it's explained that they were trying to find a cure, a patch, which they actually succeeded in doing, creating a crucifix USB stick. Exactly what Uzi needs. But one problem, we don't really know where this is. But simply knowing it exists is perfect, as we now have a little bit of hope for Uzi, as even if this doesn't destroy Sin as an entity, it will save her, which is at least a step in the right direction. I'm pretty happy with how they pulled off this reveal with the patch. I think it creates the idea of Uzi surviving while also keeping the question of how they're actually going to destroy Sin, because, well, the patch simply removes Sin's ability to control any specific robot, not destroying the entity itself. Michelle then proves my theory right that all the humans are dumbasses, yet actually making a pretty smart move keeping Yeva out of the church after being told to go retrieve her. He said something was wrong, and, well, something was wrong, as the Solver had once again tricked him, throwing the patch directly into his head, with us only being able to assume he's dead. One thing Murder Drones does really well is its horror tropes. Every episode follows a specific trope, with episode 7 seeming to be oddly religious. I think the religious undertones here are great. I love the church setting, the patch being a crucifix, the pentagram. I don't really have much to say about it other than I love it. Moving on, this flashback is then revealed to be a video that was being watched by a drone's heart who is revealed to be Nori. Yep, Nori's alive and is about to find En, who is not very happy. Yeah, after V's sacrifice, En kinda loses himself and nearly hurts Uzi, before attempting to apologize and being cut off by Sin. Tessa sees that Uzi is getting dangerously close to turning into Sin and hints at maybe trying to, well, kill her. Yeah. En, always trying to please everyone, doesn't disagree with Tessa, but also mentions not killing Uzi, because just like every other problem in this show, no one communicates with each other. Yeah, Uzi gets rightly scared and ends up accidentally creating a black hole which separates them for the second time in this show. And En, he's being punished for his actions here, with him being completely alone, only to see a horrifying hologram of Manavie, revealing herself to be Sin, and showing En and us a flashback of the disassembly drone slaughtering the human race in one of the best executed shots of the entire show. You see, the idea of the humans sending the disassembly drones was always a bit messy after episode 5, showing Sin created them, but here it's revealed that was all a lie. The disassembly drones were not sent by humans to destroy the drones, but simply sent by Sin to kill any drones that were infected with the Solver, which is honestly a much bigger reveal than the show makes it out to be, as this does go pretty undiscussed later. But After that, we see Nori saving En from Sin, with En being ecstatic to tell Uzi about her, while she quite rightly doesn't want Uzi knowing she's still alive after causing, all the problems in her life. This is where it's revealed that Nori actually was cured from Sin, with Yeva coming in and saving the day. But Sin still managed to destroy the entire planet, because when something goes right, something else must go wrong. I'm gonna say this right now, I love Nori. I think her interactions with En are great, and you can really see the resemblance between Nori and Uzi, making her a very funny character. But once again, things are going wrong, and Uzi finds and watches the tape playing the true events of what happened to Nori, with her not taking it very well. But the show doesn't give her a lot of time to process it, because it is immediately interrupted with Dole's death. I actually purposely didn't mention Dole's death scene until now, because I wanted to talk about it here. I don't like it. I don't like the scene. Well, I think the scene is awesome, but I don't like the actual death. It was very disappointing. I would probably say this is the one gripe with the episode, if I had to give it to one. Dole was brought up to be this very important character, with her being the only other person behind Uzi to be infected with the Silver. But I feel like past episode 3, she doesn't really do much until she's eventually killed off here. I kinda understand that she wasn't really needed in the story anymore, but this whole death just feels a bit unfair and leaves Dole with a broken character arc. But, let's not think about that right now, because Tessa is about to kill Uzi before being stopped by En, and with his new knowledge on the patch, ends up killing Tessa, being, in my opinion, the most important part of En's character. You see, En started out as the overly positive goof who could only see the good in people. No matter what, he would always look for the positives, expecting people to always be honest with him, and this is why he ends up trusting Tessa without really questioning anything she says. Because Tessa lying goes against En's whole mindset. But as we see with other characters in the show, En has learned when to put his foot down and stand up to people. And En finally breaks, killing Tessa after the assumption that she knew about the patch. For anyone who's calling En's character static, look at this scene and tell me episode 1 En would have done this. Maybe it was a bit sudden, a bit questionable, but in this situation, the choices made perfect sense and it's very understandable. Once again, when something goes right, something else must go wrong, because Uzi is turning into Sin and destroying the patch. This leads to one of the best fight scenes of the entire show. But this time, it doesn't end by a character dying, but more importantly, En's love for Uzi. Yeah, En writes his confession with his oil in the middle of Uzi's mom getting eaten. Now, I could talk about En and Uzi's relationship all day, so I'm gonna leave that for another video. But I do think the scene is very funny, and after all this hype, all this horror, really all these two need is each other, with them hugging it out. But it seems like Sin has had enough of controlling the robots and has now decided to control the humans, revealing that Tessa was Sin this whole time, wearing her skin. Pretty big deal, but the more I watch the show, the more this kind of makes sense. This reveal is awesome, shocking, and cool, with them doing a pretty good job hinting at something being wrong with Tessa while not explicitly saying anything. Jay's back, so that's cool, but it's completely overshadowed by this incredible ending with Uzi sacrificing herself, with a goodbye to En being die mad. And after seeing everything with Uzi and getting to know her as a character, this is just the perfect goodbye for her as she floats in space, showing that the planet has just been destroyed. Whoa, well, that's episode 7 for you. Now, let's spend a little bit of time talking about what I like, what I dislike, and just what exactly made this episode so great. And the answer, the main one, is simply that this episode is just incredibly hype. All the reveals, all the action, this episode knew that it wanted to be cool, and it succeeded. The reveal of the disassembly drones killing all the humans is probably just one of my favorite shots in the entire show. The red lighting, the way the camera pans to show En standing there, it's incredible, and oh my god, this fight scene. Yeah, this is easily top 3 fight scenes in the show. This scene really displays how far the animation has come from the pilot, and the music is just on point. Even during the slow sections, Sin taunting En by pushing the blade into her neck, it's so tense. Then they bring out everything with the null voids, the epic music, Nori's powers, and wow, it is just so cool. I think this scene is a perfect example of what this show does best, being its action. And this ending, this sacrifice, really made me feel for Uzi, and the dime ad is just perfect. Then following that, we have the incredibly beautiful shot of the planet, then having the credits roll in complete silence. Absolute cinema. I know I was hating on it earlier, but I do got to give props to Dole's death scene. While maybe the idea of Dole dying wasn't the best choice, I do think the scene is very cool, because it was the only time that I felt honestly pretty scared. The sound design in the show is phenomenal, and the scene is no exception. So I do really like the scene, even if her death was pretty disappointing in the long run. But really, there isn't a boring part in this episode. It's really fast-paced, but I think that in this instance, that's honestly a strength. I think it could have maybe allowed some characters to really sit on reveals, because a lot of the time it feels like they were kind of just forced to move on really quickly. But, you know, I won't complain too much about that, because what we get instead is just so fun. One thing this episode did really well was En. I've mentioned this before, but En killing Tessa was probably the most important part of his character, and was just as much shocking as it was understandable. And this really made me like En a lot more than in previous episodes. But Jay, Thad, and Lizzie, on the other hand, are three characters who I really just don't care too much about. I still think it's cool that they get screen time though. A big problem with the show in general is Jay. She doesn't really get much screen time other than a couple really good lines in the finale, but in episode 7 she kinda just appears. Again, I don't think this is too big of a deal because it kinda hints that she was going to be a bigger part of episode 8, but it still kinda sucks that we didn't see much of her here. And Thad, Lizzie, and Khan, I just didn't really care too much about their storyline. But with all that being said, this is still my favorite episode of Murder Drones. The strengths are really there. It is so fun, so exciting, and so shocking. Really giving me everything I wanted in the show. So for that, I think it fully overrides the small flaws with the episode, making it my favorite in the series.